Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to return to Ellon in Aberdeenshire here in Scotland once again, and we're going to look at another Brewdog beer, as you might have guessed. But this one is a new series from Brewdog, and it's the second one in that series, but the first one I'm reviewing for you here on the channel. So we're going to have a look at the Black Hammer today, which is essentially a black IPA version of the Jackhammer, which really is one of their kind of signature beers these days. This one's a 7.2% black IPA, as you might have guessed, and it's rated 98 overall on Rate Beer, 97 within the style. The whole point of this Hammerhead series is to show you what a different malt base can do to a beer. The first one in the series was the Monk Hammer, which is a kind of Belgian style IPA. Then you've got this guy, the Black Hammer, which is obviously a black IPA, and they're also planning a chili hammer and also a rye hammer in the next wee while too. So those should be really interesting beers. I actually tried this one when I was in Brewdog Tokyo with Eric from Sotogami Akihabara, and we both thought this beer was pretty damn good, but I'm looking forward to doing a more kind of sober review of this one for you on the channel. This one should be pretty damn good, and it is highly rated for a reason, I'm sure. But anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other Brewdog reviews I've done before. There's about 100 or so of them, so make sure you check them out. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel. The whole channel is based on geography as well, so if you're interested in beer from a particular part of the world, you can search by city, state or country. Use the search bar in the channel homepage, and as always, please do get in touch with some beer recommendations for me to do here on the channel. Your input is always appreciated, as is your support. So thank you once again for watching my channel, and I'll tell you a little bit about Brewdog very briefly. So Brewdog were founded back in 2007 by two guys, James Watt and Martin Dickey, and their first brewery was in the Keswick Industrial Estate in Fraserburgh in the very northeast corner of Scotland, right on the tip of the monster's nose, as I always like to say. But more recently, I think it was maybe 2011 or 2012, they moved down to their new facility in Ellon in Aberdeenshire, which is closer to the city of Aberdeen, where I used to study chemistry. So these guys are known as being a very kind of experimental brewery. A lot of their beers are based on the kind of Californian beer scene. They cite Stoughton Brewing Company as one of their kind of main influences, and you can taste that if you look at the likes of Punk IPA and Jackhammer and things like that. It really is a very American influenced brewery. They say they're hopheads, although I would say some of their best beers have actually been imperial stouts too. They have many records actually. They've had the world's strongest beer on 3 separate occasions, although they've pulled out of that race now. But nowadays they've got several brew pubs. They started in 2010 with the original bar in Aberdeen, which I was at the opening night of. They've spread all throughout Scotland, then down into England, throughout Europe, and now they're kind of a worldwide thing. Brewdog have built quite the empire for themselves, and they are looking to open up their second brewery in Columbus, Ohio, America. I think they've actually almost completed the work on that now, and in the home brewery in Aberdeen, they've also got a distillery now called Lone Wolf, which should be quite interesting. Apparently the gins are very good, but we're going to have to wait 3 years to try some of the Brewdog whiskies, in fact. So a lot of interesting things to come out of Brewdog. They've done some really cool things already, and there's many more things to come. What's really interesting about this brewery though is the business model that they've used. They've got their Equity for Punk scheme, which is really where fans can buy into the brewery, and a lot of these expansions through the brew pubs and all the other things, the breweries themselves, have actually been funded through crowdfunding. They've got a book on it as well, which you can go and read too. So overall, the main point of this is Brewdog, very experimental brewery. They've kind of grown very fast actually. They do some really interesting stuff, and there's probably many more interesting things to come from them. So yeah, that's enough about Brewdog just now though. Let's actually get on to the tasting of this beer itself. So like I mentioned to you, this one is essentially the black IPA version of the Jackhammer beer. So on the side here, we'll read the little blurb as we always do. It says, Jackhammer has been single-handedly ripping it up for quite some time. Now the definitive bitter and twisted IPA has spawned 4 Hammerhead offsprings. Black Hammer is the second of our hyped-up hybrid IPAs, a black-hearted beast that makes no prisoners. American hops and dark malt combine to make mischief, grapefruit and coffee collide in sensory overload. A wake-up call for all other IPAs. Molten waves of pithy grapefruit build and finally ebb into a roasty bitter onslaught. Stand firm and wield the black hammer with care. Stare into the black abyss and succumb to the dark side. and it just says a little bit about Brewdog after that. So yeah, 7.2% IPA. The specs of this beer that I got from the website, it's hot with Amarillo, Centennial, Citra, Columbus and Simcoe, and the malt base in this one is extra kilned and extra pale malts. And like I said, this is the second in the Hammerhead IPA series, after the Monk Hammer, of course, which you will see me review in a few videos time. I did manage to find a can of that in Brewdog Sterling, but this one is a little bit fresher than the Monk Hammer, so I thought I'd do this first. So as you can see, it's a nice little canned beer. I'm not sure if this is the first canned beer I've actually reviewed from Brewdog. In fact, no, that's lies. It was Albino Squid Assassin was the first one I did in the cans, but this should be really nice. Like I said, I tried this with Eric from Sotogami Akihabara. So we'll get this guy out and we'll get it into the glass here. Should be really nice. So yeah, I'm not sure if this is actually the first black IPA I've tried from Brewdog. I really can't think. I think it might well be the first black IPA I've tried from these guys. One of my favourite black IPAs I ever had was Black Salts and Body Malts from Toyo. That was absolutely lovely. So I'm interested to see how this one is now that I'm a bit sober. More sober, I should say, than the time I was in Brewdog Tokyo a few weeks back. So as you would expect from this beer, it's poured a nice ebony rosewood colour. It isn't transparent at all. You can see if I put my fingers behind it, but there's a finger and a half, nearly 2 fingers of frothy beigey tan head on this one. It looks really nice, and you can smell some of these really lovely kind of citrusy and sort of grapefruit, tropical fruit things coming off this beer, just without even paying too much attention to the aroma. There's some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of the head there, but overall it looks very nice. So let's take a closer look at the aroma here. So without sugaring that beer up, it is really interesting. It's been a long time since I've had the regular Jack Hammer actually. I probably should have had one of these before I started filming this Hammerhead series. But this beer smells really nice. You've got a good bit of orangey citrus in there, which is obviously from the Amarillo hops. It's very fruity on the nose, this one. There's a bit of grapefruit in there, which is probably from the Citra. You've got some of the juicier tropical fruits coming out of this one as well. You know, these are from the Citra as well. You've got a little bit of mango, I would say, coming out of this beer. Maybe a little bit of kind of peachy character as well. I was expecting the malty character to be a bit more prominent in this one, but you can smell it a little bit underneath, but mainly the nose. It's all about these fruity characteristics of this one. That's really nice. You've got a good bit of floral aromaticity in this one, which I remember being mainly from the Centennial actually. The Centennial always reminds me of a big kind of floral aromatic hop. It is nice. There is a bit of pine resin, but like I say, it is more to do with the kind of with the fruity aspects actually. It's really interesting when you sugar this beer up. But yeah, oranges from the Amarillo, grapefruits from the Citra, and the Columbus as well actually. Some nice juicier tropical fruits, which I'd say pardon me, are probably from the Citra. I always remember Citra being a very nice kind of juicy tropical fruit. But yeah, it smells really nice. You can get some of these roasted black malts underneath. When your nose adjusts to it a bit more, you start to get things like a little bit of licorice out of it, but you can really smell the fact that they've really roasted these malts in here. The extra kilned malts that they've put in here are really going to work on this one. Probably Scottish malt actually they've used if they've extra kilned it actually, which is really cool when you get a nice local malt in these beers from Brewdog. But it smells really nice. Just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma from this one before you try it for yourself. So let's get stuck into this one then. This is the Black Hammer 7.2% Black IPA, essentially the black version of Jack Hammer from Brewdog. Let's get stuck in. Slanja. Yeah, that's a pretty damn good beer, I have to say. So one of the things you always have to say about Brewdog a little bit, Brewdog in the beginning set some very, very high standards for themselves. You know, the hardcore IPA, probably one of my favourite beers. Then there's Dogma, there's Riptide, there's things like Chaos Theory, there's all of this sort of thing. And these new beers that they're producing, many of them are very, very solid. But there are still some kind of quite outstanding ones that they do, for me, this one is one of their stronger beers lately. I mean, the other ones that have stood out for me recently have been the likes of Hinterland. Hinterland was a very, very good beer. A lot of people have been going on about the barrel-aged version of the Albino Squid Assassin. That's one that I'm still to try, actually. Their Paradox beers never really disappoint either. Those are always very good. But this is one of the best beers I've tried from Brewdog in quite a while. And you know, that's one of the things. They are very prolific. They produce a lot of good beer. And it's always, you know, when their better beers come along, you have to give them that little bit extra kind of praise, I guess, to really point out how good they are, because they are known for doing very, very solid beers. And this one is definitely one of the better ones I've had. You know, I've talked before about the Hello My Name Is series. I loved them when they were double IPAs. Since they've moved them to the single IPAs, I found that they haven't been as good as they were previously. But this is a really, really good beer. This is probably one of the best IPAs I've tried from Brewdog in quite a while, actually. And it kind of shows the point when they go back to the basics a little bit. When they go back to that, it really does work with them. Jackhammer probably is one of my favourite beers that Brewdog have produced, and the fact that they can take that hop profile that's worked very well and change the malt base and do it this well, you know, that kind of says a lot. Yeah, you know, this is a really good beer. If you get the chance to try this one, jump at it. This is one of the best Brewdog beers that I've tried in a wee while, actually. It's always kind of difficult, like I say, with Brewdog, because they set themselves high standards in the beginning, and you try some of their beers, and then you get the odd ones, that you get the ones that come along every so often, like this one, that do kind of blow your mind a little bit. And this one, I have to say, is probably one of the best black IPAs I've tried. That's a good statement to make for this one. They make some very solid beers, but this one is in the top, the upper echelons of what Brewdog have produced, I'd say. It is nice. They've done that well. So let's actually analyse the flavour a bit of this one. So in the middle of the palate, as you'd expect with a black IPA, it's quite ashy and roasted. There's not really a kind of licoricey thing or a kind of toasted caramel thing going on in this one. I'm not really getting a sweetness from the malt in this at all. It really is like you can pick up a bit of the pale malt there, but really it's black malt, it's roasted, it's kind of ashy. That's the only real thing going on in the malt base in this one. It's very dry in the centre of the palate, but as you go out to the outside of the tongue, you'll start to pick up all these other things. It's maybe a little bit earthy in the back corners of the palate, but as you come further forward, you can feel the pine resins kind of underpinning this beer. Then you get a bit more of the floral aromaticity on top of that, and maybe it's just a little bit grassy as you go around the front curve of the tongue, but then behind that you're getting some of these juicy fruity characters coming out of this one. But yeah, it's nice. The grapefruit in this one for me is interesting. I always find grapefruit to be a little bit I would always describe it as being a little bit sour, actually. I find that grapefruit is a very dominant flavour when it comes to beers. This one, they've actually got the grapefruit quite nicely. It blends very well with that really quite big, punchy, ashy character that you get in the beer, but it's a little bit more juicy. The other fruits are kind of coming out in this one. You can get a little bit of the orange, which is the kind of trademark of the Amarillo a bit. There is a bit of passion fruit that comes out from the Simcoe as well, and you can detect the kind of lighter and juicier notes that you'll get from the Citra as well. This beer, you know, I'm singing its praises a little bit, but this is one of the better ones that Brewdog have produced over the last little while. Their beers, you know, their beers are all pretty solid, but this one definitely is one of the better ones they've done of late. Yeah, that's a pretty damn good beer, actually. There's no doubt about that in my mind. This is well done. I think the last one I reviewed for you before this was the Mr. President. That's one of their older recipes that they've done. That's been on the go for a while, and I think that's basically a variant of the hardcore IPA. And this, what I really think about Brewdog is some of their new stuff does work very, very well, and so, but some of their old beers maybe have a bit of a nostalgia value about them as well. I still love hardcore IPA. I can always go a hardcore IPA. Jackhammer's another one that's like that. Dogma, of course, the beers I enjoy. I mean, Riptide is another one that I really enjoy from these guys. This is a very, very solid beer. Like I say, one of the best ones you're going to find from Brewdog over the last little while, so make sure you give this a go. I've also heard the Monk Hammer is very, very good, so I guess going back to the Jackhammer thing has been a very good thing for Brewdog, actually. But this one's really solid, actually. Really lovely beer, so if you get the chance and find a can of this, I think it's fairly new, give this one a go and see what you think. It's still available in many of the bars, actually, so yeah. Mouthfeel, this one, I would say this one's kind of mid-bodied. It's got a nice oily mouthfeel to it. The carbonation is, you know, fairly kind of standard, a sort of moderate carbonation on this one. There's a good dryness from the malt base in this, and that works well for it. It actually goes well with the hoppy characters of the beer. The hops are actually a little bit less dry than the malts in this one, and you've got some of the juicy fruity character in there as well. For me, in the aftertaste, the things that are really sitting there, it's a bit of the floral character on the side of the tongue, maybe some of the piney resins too, but it's really the kind of blackness in the malt base, the sort of ashy character in there that is coming out quite nicely. You can get a little bit of the fruits just from the back of the tongue, or from the just behind the front of the tongue there as well. This one for me just blends together really well, and that's what Jackhammer did. There were a few batches of Jackhammer apparently where the bitterness just took over, but in this one they certainly have the balance of this beer very, very well. So yeah, on the basis of this one, I'm really interested to see how the Monk Hammer turned out, and then how the Rye Hammer and the Chili Hammer will turn out too. So if you get the chance to try the Black Hammer, for me this is one of the best Brewdog beers you're going to try in the next little while, and probably over the last little while too. This is one of the best ones they've produced in recent times, I would say. So give this guy a go if you get the chance. So yeah, as always, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know your favourite Brewdog beers as well. I often get asked what mine are. I've kind of told you a few of them throughout this video, but let me know your own thoughts on the beers and what your favourite ones are from this brewery. Like I said, let me know your own thoughts on this beer particularly. But until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. But most importantly, go and try a bit of Black Hammer for yourself. This is one of the best Brewdog beers you're going to find for a wee while, I think. So we'll see about that. Until the next time, it's Slanger just now, and I will catch you soon. Cheers.